When you go in a meeting with a seller, you gotta leave your watch and your phone in a car.
What happens in an uncertain economic condition? It all goes out of the window.
But you gotta pay attention to what they're not telling you.
I don't know that I would recommend it to everybody.
Oh, here's what I want, and you shouldn't want what you want.
These are golden handcuffs.
If everything was be known, it wouldn't be fun.
It wouldn't be fun. I almost don't want to know a lot of times. What am I doing with my life?
What is one life hack that somebody can use to start generating more wealth? Welcome to the Frequency of Wealth podcast, where we interview successful entrepreneurs who have adopted meditation as a tool for business, where we try to identify behavioral patterns, thoughts, and spiritual practices that generate abundance. Today we have a very special guest, my good friend Dharma Rajah. Originally from India, Dharma immigrated to the United States at the age of 28 as a senior manager at Deloitte, but he quickly transitioned to become entrepreneur in business for himself, and having developed over $3 billion worth of sustainable communities in the Austin, Texas area. As a founder and CEO of Epidome Development, Dharma is unique in a way that he combines ancient wisdom with modern business strategy to create sustainable communities that serve both profit and purpose. Being a dedicated meditation practitioner, Dharma has a personal connection to Sadhguru, and he is what I consider a new wave of entrepreneurs, of conscious entrepreneurs who are reshaping American suburbia. Dharma, welcome to the my show, Frequency of Wealth podcast.
Thank you. That's a big introduction, and thank you for all the kind words. And a lot of it is under development, but I appreciate it.
Tell us about background, like where did Dharma grow up?
So yeah, my background, I kind of came from a pretty interesting background when you compare it with the classical Indian immigrant story. My grandfather was a freedom fighter for India, from the freedom from the British in the 40s, alongside Mahatma Gandhi. Had played a very active role in politics. He was a member of the parliament in India. And started and ran one of the largest life insurance companies in South India in the 40s. So he became extremely wealthy, came from, the rags to riches story, came from a rural part of India, south of India, in a state called Tamil Nadu, and in a rural part of Tamil Nadu. And, after the independence and the freedom movement, and they accomplished it, and he built a really successful enterprise. And then the second generation, it had there was a lot of friction in the family, and, a lot of destruction of wealth in the second generation, which usually in family cycles happens in the third or the fourth generation. But unfortunately, that happened in the second generation. And I say fortunately for me, because they didn't leave me with that blessing of having to do those types of destructive activities. And so, my life in my formative years has been one of watching wealth, and then watching steady decline. And then, when I was really in my early teens, we kind of hit rock bottom as a family, and really rock bottom. So my journey started from there. And, I was being the only child and watched a lot of this play out with my parents. And so, fast forward, I graduate from college, and I start in the corporate world in India, and I start working in Indian banking. And then I got an MBA of sorts. And I always had a job, but I was a real estate broker as a side hustle. And, it replaced my regular day job income. And so I've sold probably about 400 homes in the city of Bangalore, India, between 2003 and 2008. So that was my first direct exposure as a broker. But, as growing up, my parents were in real estate, and my mother was a real estate broker, and she's still very much as active. So I kind of learned the business from them. In 2008, market was soft in India, just as it was in the rest of the world. My day job provided me the opportunity with a visa to come to the United States on an H-1, and that's how I came here. So I started life again from scratch in Houston, Texas, and then started moving into, different jobs, and then figured out real estate there. One thing led to another. Married my wife, who's an architect. Started building some homes, and then started doing some larger subdivisions, and here we are today.
So, very nice. You met your wife in America. If you
No, I actually met my wife. I had known my wife through family connections in India. We had known each other, and so we had dated a while, and then.
So it sounds like you were born into money originally. So you had the preview and exposure what wealth looks like. And then during your teenage years, when your family hit rock bottom, you had to basically create your own, make your own way in life. But at least you had an understanding and a vision of what it could be.
Yes. I think today with the amount of work that we do on the energy side and on the mindfulness side and my inner journey, it's definitely becoming more and more evident to me that a lot of the thinking and a lot of the attitude and a lot of the personality has been shaped by my early formative exposure to having a lot and to having nothing. And so that really, I think, shaped how to handle highs and lows, and watching people do that, and just puts things into perspective as far as what wealth and money really is, what really happens through that journey. So I would say I'm extremely fortunate to have been exposed to that early in life.
Okay, so you think it was more of a benefit, or it created this feeling of lack, of like having lost it all? And
definitely growing up, it was a feeling of lack. And really, I had sort of a, to pretty recently, through the evolution of my personal inner journey, I definitely did consider it as a feeling of lack. And to be where I stand, I definitely realized that there could not have been a bigger gift.
Blessing. It's a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. That is one of the best things that's happened to me.
So your name, Dharma, in translation from Sanskrit, literally means the righteous path. How this concept of Dharma guided you throughout your journey and your life and your career?
I think I never once took my name as a meaning of how I should run my life. But at a subconscious level, when I look back today, it has played a big part in how I have been programmed subconsciously to be able to do that. Some of the qualities that I think I possess and I have been told is, I'm fairly generous, looking out for people's interests and others' interests, honesty and ensuring that you're doing the right thing to, for everybody around you. We all run for-profit enterprises for the most.
Mm-hmm.
But, consciously thinking about how the other, stakeholders in our process benefit, gain, both monetary and personally, is always at the forefront and center of my goals. So I feel like that on a day-to-day life, I feel like those kind of principles help me keep me there. And then, I think the other thing that we have been very fortunate to be exposed to is my grandfather started a school, non-for-profit school for charity, about 65 years ago in South India after he was successful.
Mm-hmm.
And through all the turbulences, the school survived. And so we have been involved in philanthropy for 60 plus years. We've educated over 40,000 kids. Yeah. And so that, I think that ingrained blessing to have that concept of philanthropy, even when you had nothing. It's easy to be philanthropic when you have a lot of money and you have a lot of means. It's a little harder when you have nothing, but then it gives you a perspective of what that does for you in life. And so I think a combination of these things generally gave me a really good foundation on grounding for my thinking and how I run my life.
Mm-hmm. So you have a personal connection to Sadhguru, and you practice advanced meditation techniques. Can you give me an example of how you've used in meditation to influence a major business decision worth millions of dollars?
Yeah, thank you. So Sadhguru is an amazing spiritual mystic, and I think we're on fairly fortunate to have him to be alive at this time, and he's there. And um, I've had a couple of interactions, and I follow his practices. That's my biggest involvement. Is I did the inner engineering with Sadhguru's Isha Foundation over 10 years ago. And then over the last 3 years, I have been way more active in following the practices every day. So that's my biggest savior for the day. So I spend about 45 minutes every day, at least, with the practices, and sometimes in the evening as well. Usually in the mornings.
Describe me your meditation practice technique or your morning routine. Like basically, what part of the day do you do it? What exactly do you do?
Yeah, I usually start off in the morning at about. It depends on what time I wake up. I do not use an alarm. So if I wake up at 4:30, so be it. It's usually between 4:30 and 5:30, around that time frame. I do the as a part of the Isha's practices, as a part of the inner, we do the Shambhavi Mahamudra, and then I do a practice called Surya Kriya, which is your traditional Surya Namaskara practices, but with a lot more intensity. And so that's my classic morning practice, and followed up with the quiet time and breathing. Recently I have started adding some of the guided Joe Dispenza abundance practices to it, thanks to you, your exposure to it, and how you opened my eyes to it, and I'm really enjoying that as an add-on to the practice.
He was a big influence on my spiritual practices and meditation, because I have a very logical mindset. I graduated from school.
When did you get exposed to Joe Dispenza?
First time in 2019, but I haven't attended his week-long advanced meditation retreats until 2023.
Right. Okay.
So so for me it was really hit home because he explains it with science. Information. So how
and you had also recently had some exposure to Isha and Sadhguru.
Yeah. I also went through inner engineering. I went through integration process. Spent a day with him in Canada, in Toronto, doing some meditation work. But I have developed my own routines, things like that. But I wanna learn from the best mystics and practitioners out there.
To me, the biggest thing has been my experience of where I am today in my journey, because this keeps evolving. Where I stand today, meditation to me has been not just sitting down quietly for hours, which obviously is amazing, but I'm still early on in my evolution, and I find that doing yoga and yogic practices and hatha yoga helps me to get out a lot of stored emotions across different parts of the body.
Get the energy moving.
Gets the energy moving, just removes emotion the way I feel at different parts of the body through the practices, and it primes me to get better, to be more geared up to do silent, the sitting down with the eyes closed type meditation. So it helps me lead up to it.
I wanted to go back to second part of the earlier question about how meditation practice have influenced a major business decision for you.
I look at my body as a container, and I feel like starting in the morning with a practice, with any sort of powerful practice of this type, helps you clear the container. So you're coming with so much of baggage from the previous day, and thoughts and feelings, and we all lead busy lives. We're doing multiple things. We run businesses. We have families. We have young kids. Parents, travel. Philanthropy, and so the container is full, and it's all over the place, right? So I feel like this is just a start of this is almost mandatory for me to be able to just reset and to start with a clear container and clean the slate. So I think from that standpoint, first of all, cleaning the slate, clearing the container helps you think straight. helps you start off it helps you reset and start from a base level. All of this is about being able to tap into our deeper inner potential, able to tap into our inner, godliness within us and
the resources, the
inner resources, right? And so, I think if there's a lot of noise inside, it's hard, right? If you're in a noisy room, it's hard to communicate. It's hard to have this conversation.
Yeah.
The quieter room like this is a lot easier for us to have a meaningful, deep conversation. So I think, having that quiet space inside, being able to get there, primes you to do whatever you want to do in your own personal way. So I think.
So it sounds like you, there is not a specific, like one major deal that use meditation to create millions of dollars, but it's more of a daily practice of getting clarity.
I think it's a lot of micro decisions and a lot of, I'm thinking through how to structure a deal or restructure a deal or refinance a deal or raise money on a deal or, exit or how do you navigate complex economic conditions? And, I think when you're in the midst of it and you're in the thick of it, it's harder to think and get creative. But then when you sit down and you do a specific practice for 40-45 minutes and you clear the container, you actually have that space to be able to think. Mm-hmm. And so you're getting micro ideas which have major shifts if you implement it the right way, right? So I think absolutely I can attribute it to specific deals today and specific instances and specific decisions and thought patterns. But I think it helps you make those micro shifts and gives you, reveals ideas that you already haven't.
Mm-hmm. So most developers focus on profit margins and business trends, things like that. How do you integrate something as spiritual as meditation without sacrificing profit?
I'm going to answer this question in the reverse manner. I mean, let's look at where we're at today. Developers and people like us, we have methods, we have systems, we have formulae, we have pro formas. We do a lot of underwriting, and what happens in an uncertain economic condition? It all goes out of the window, right? You have no idea what the exit values are going to be, and in a space that you play in, you don't know what the cap rates are, you don't know what the yield on cost is, you don't know what the exit cap rate is going to be in 2 years.
You can estimate, yeah, but you cannot predict 2 years.
You have no idea today, and it's hard to make decisions. In our case, the pace of the sales to the home builders, what is that going to be 6 months from now, 1 year from now? It's dependent on a multitude of factors. One thing was just the interest rate. Now you have tariffs, you have, geopolitical conditions. There's a lot of things that you can't predict. Mm-hmm. So all those pro formas and underwriting is literally, questionable and goes out of the window. So I think the biggest thing for me is uncertainty and the unknown, and to be able to handle that and to get comfortable and to deal with that. You start from there.
So you embrace the unknown.
You have to embrace it, and it helps you. All this work really helps you embrace that unknown. And I think generally I'm predisposed to be starting from the unknown, which I consider as a blessing. I don't need too much of certainty to be able to get started on something.
Okay, so it sounds like you don't really have everything figured out, but you kind of just surrender to the process and become an observer of whatever life throws at you. You surrender to that and you adjust your strategy.
Yes.
As things develop.
Yes, definitely. I mean, we definitely have to do the rigorous and thorough underwriting, and we definitely go through the process, and we have the tools and templates to do that. But it hits a wall, you know this number, now what? And so, you're halfway through the deal and you're like, okay, none of this is going to add up anymore. What are you going to do? And so if from the get-go, if you have the ability to deal with the uncertain situation or the unknown, it's less likely, you're less expecting of this certain prediction to play out. Yeah. You're more open to life coming at you.
Yeah, if everything was be known, it wouldn't be fun.
It wouldn't be fun. I almost don't want to know a lot of times. I don't want to know, yeah. I think I embrace the concept and the idea of risk. I understand what people say. The way I look at risk is different from the way a lot of my employees or my management looks at risk. I embrace it. But at the same time, I don't want to know all the pitfalls or the downsides. I have an idea of it, but I think the more you dwell on those aspects and the more you dwell on the things and all the possible outcomes of how things could go wrong, the more you stay focused on those outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to stay focused on, if I see a big pattern and a big trend and I see the general trend evolving there, and I already, as a combination of what I read and see and hear and talk to, people like you, Nikita, my body already has some innate information that I don't have to sit down and try to, which I like to believe is my intuition. So the sum of all those things that I get stored in the body is my intuition.
So speaking of intuition, you've quietly assembled thousands of acres of land around Austin, while most other developers focused on the inner city. What inner knowing or intuition guided you to do that?
Yeah, thank you. So just for some clarity, we're now fairly all over Texas, Austin and Houston for sure, pretty prominently. But so I think when I was a real estate agent, a realtor in Bangalore, India, in the early 2000s, I saw a very similar trend to Austin play out there, and it was a scenario of it was going through a tech boom. Bangalore is the Silicon Valley of India, and it was going through a tech boom, and a lot of money was flowing in, a lot of offshoring and outsourcing of large companies here in the United States and around the world, moving business and work and to India, and so real estate was booming, and there were a lot of investors coming into the picture. So for every one real end users, there was about 3 to 4 investors. And at the time I was a broker, and I made, commissions on transactions, but it was not, kind of taking a bigger charge and really generating value and making a big play. And when the boom in Austin started, I just kind of watched a similar scenario play out that I had seen in Bangalore in the early.
You recognize the same pattern.
I recognize the same pattern.
You see, I think it's key in life just recognizing patterns.
Yes.
Because everything repeats itself in cycles. You see the same pattern happening elsewhere, you can capitalize on it because you know how it's going to play out, essentially.
Absolutely. That's fascinating that we're talking about this because, this is not a topic that we usually talk about outside this type of a setting. But that pattern is what really pushed me to say, let's go do this, because I literally quit a high-paying job. These are golden handcuffs. When you're in a senior position in a large consulting company, such as Deloitte, which is a very reputable company, and you're surrounded by extremely intelligent people. You're making a lot of money, and your career looks great.
Well, that would be the certainty. That would be the known.
That's the known.
Yes, but sounds like you more.
I clearly don't like the certainty.
Although you embrace the uncertainty.
Yes,
the variety.
Absolutely.
But as Dr. Joe says, the unknown has never let him down. I don't think it have never let me down either.
Yeah,
you almost have to get out of your own way in order to, because maybe universe have something bigger planned for you.
And your journey was somewhat similar, right? I mean, we've talked about this before, but your journey of how you've been through hardships and how you've been through ups and downs in your life with your family is fairly similar.
Yeah, it is very similar.
And so, I think we can kind of relate on the topic of, how that conditions us and primes us to be able to go do this, right?
Yeah.
Because I had a lot of friends around me in the corporate environment who were aspiring entrepreneurs, but just not able to take the jump and make the step.
So when you were sitting in a city council meeting on your rezoning or entitlement hearing, or when you're negotiating with a Korean conglomerate like KBI Group, how do you use your meditation knowledge or your higher knowing insights to get competitive advantage and get upper hand in those negotiations?
In my evolution where I stand today, I focus a lot more on staying open and embracing what potential possibilities you could get from different cultures and different business owners. I mean, every country is doing business a different way. I'm very exposed to doing business in India, as I have, and Asian cultures are similar, not the same, but similar to Indian cultures in terms of the relationship-based approach and how they think and the concept of ownership versus leasing and, those types of things. So it helps me have a little bit of an understanding of how a starting point, if you will. But, I think just the combining the energy work and the meditations and just staying present, I think just helps you to stay open and not have preconceived notions and not try to try to fit a square peg into a round hole. And, in fact, one of our senior management people are in Korea right now working with a few companies because we have a presence around the, Samsung plant in Austin. Samsung is investing, tens of billions of dollars into one of the largest fabrication plants in the world in a suburb of Austin called Taylor, and we have a lot of exposure there. And so we're working with the companies from Korea, I think I think generally it has made me a lot more present. It has made me pay a lot more attention to conversations. I admittedly struggled with paying a lot of attention in the past, and that is improving significantly. I think that's the one thing that if I were to point the finger to one thing, one shift that all of my inner practices is helping me in expanding business relationships and even personal relationships is
being more present.
Being more present, be able to pay more attention.
So it sounds like it's more like a practical tool, like meditation helps you gain clarity and being more in the present moment.
Yeah.
So that you don't have a preconceived notions around cultures or people, and by being present, attentive, and without judgment, when you're in those meetings, it opens you to the possibility, and people feel your presence, where they're more inclined to do business with you. Is that?
I think correct? Definitely. I mean, I think, if we're sitting and talking to each other and you're not engaged with me, I know it, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So I think just my experience has been people just tend to take you a lot more seriously. You're more likely to get a deal done. You're more likely to get a job. You're more likely to get a break in life if the person sitting across the table from you knows that you're engaged.
That's one of the, it's interesting how it's coming from a different perspective. But I had the same, this trick as far as being present, has been one of my keys to success in real estate career, right? Over 20 plus years, namely when I'm in negotiations with sellers. And I got it as a tip from one of my mentors. He said, when you go in a meeting with a seller, you got to leave your watch and your phone in the car. Because the moment you start looking at the watch or checking your phone, it tells the other person, like, okay, they got to be somewhere else. You got to be fully engaged. You don't want to have any distractions. The goal is to eliminate all distractions.
Yes.
So you can focus on the person who you're talking to. And because people are going to tell you some things, but most of the information, especially in negotiations, is said between the lines. You got to pay attention to what they're not telling you. And you got to pick up those subtle clues they're going to give you, like those little off-ramps. But if you're going to be distracted and not fully present, you're not going to pick up on those clues. But those clues hold the key in negotiations, hold the key to their real motivation. Because your goal in negotiations is to get to the bottom of what motivates them, what their beliefs are. You have to understand them so you can put yourself in their shoes, understand what drives them, and then package your proposal in a wrap that's understandable to them. If you're gonna tell them, "Oh, here's what I want," and you shouldn't want what you want, but you should want this instead, well, you're gonna get rejection, pushback. If you understand what drives them, what motivates them, what their belief system is, then you can present a proposal that's consistent with those beliefs, and you're more likely to get a yes. It goes back to Aristotle times when he said persuasion, when he defined the term persuasion. Persuasion is not like me persuading you to do something in a negative tone. Back to Aristotle times, persuasion meant a state of agreement, where two parties reach a state of agreement and they agree on something. And the easiest way to do it is talk in the language that's understandable of your audience. So And I think you flew to Korea to meet with the representatives of Samsung yourself personally to integrate their needs into your projects. Um, Tell us about that experience.
I think, yeah. So it was last year, early part of last year, and we have somebody there right now representing us from our team, and um, I think the experience is that the Samsung is a big company, and a lot of their suppliers are looking to come here too and follow suit, and they really look up to them as a large player. The culture to me was very one more of uh, ownership versus the leasing mentality, and they like to be the owners of things, and very very daring, very business oriented as a culture. The Koreans and hospitable. I love the country. I mean, personally, phenomenal country, clean, one of the cleanest countries in the world. Um, and I think they're very pro business, and they want to come here and they want to do business with the United States. So I think all these things bodes well for us to be able to we're going with the flow. They want to do business with us. We want to do business with them. So I think we're now year 2 into forging some of those relationships, and it's still early, but I look at this as a long-term play. And I see this as being as a key part of our strategy is to have global connections of people wanting to move into the United States, which seems to tie in well with the story of the general U.S. economy right now, encouraging manufacturing coming into the United States. And so I feel like, our strategy seems to line up well with where the country is headed.
Mm-hmm. And your Elgin Gateway project, it's around $500 million project, almost 800 homes. How do you balance for profit business while keeping affordable and livable and creating affordable and livable communities?
Yeah, thank you. No, that's a great tract of land. We love that project. It's about 20 minutes from Austin, east of Austin, towards Houston, on a major prominent highway, and we have a lot of frontage, and we're going to have a lot of retail and potentially some big box retail as well, and an apartment complex on there. So it's about an apartment complex is about 18 acres of retail, and then about 800 homes. The way typically we manage the affordability around in single family in Texas is mud districts. And municipal utility districts is something that you can create it legislatively, or you can file it with the Texas Commission for Environment and Quality. And you form a mud district that helps you levy a specific tax rate onto the final end product of the house, and that you can actually float bonds to get reimbursed for based on the value of the homes. So mud districts have been in Texas for decades, and they've really helped keep affordability good in bigger cities like Houston and Dallas, and now Austin's catching up.
And then this project, you're going to develop retail and multifamily yourself, or you're going to kind of pot it out and sell it in pods?
Generally, we do the infrastructure and we sell the lots to the home builders. We're going to start phase 1 of that within the next 3 to 6 months. We're actively working that project. And we are going to start some retail too. That's the deal we have at the city, is we're going to start some of the retail.
So you're going to try to go vertical?
We're going to do it in small portions. That's too much of retail for us to go all of it, given that that's not what we do. But we're going to start off with, one retail strip center, and just to seed the subdivision, and kind of go from there. But generally the plan would be is to sell retail pads. A lot of our projects are, including this one, is also in the opportunity zone. And so, provides a lot of advantageous benefits from a taxation standpoint and investment standpoint.
I want to go back for a second to your family. So your grandfather led freedom revolution in India, but he also was one of the leaders who pioneered insurance industry in India. And you spent years working in corporate consulting. What was the point in time when you realized that you, I guess, need to follow more your dharmic purpose, right? And follow your grandfather's steps in
I think that's a great question. I've never given that any serious thought, but I think there were several instances across my childhood where I've had intuitions and feelings. And, when you think about it, where you stand today, there were many callings, if you will, to go and do something, right? To go do. You're always set up for greatness. I think a big portion of this is my father's instilling the thinking into me as well. Because I never met my granddad. He died young. And so, but you don't pay attention to the calling. You don't pay attention to the intuition. I think that's a big part of, when you're growing spiritually, you start to learn to pay attention to the intuition. You start to learn to trust yourself a little bit more, and you have more confidence in yourself. And till then, you're trying to just go run with the pack, and you're seeking validation. You don't know exactly how to navigate life.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the one big thing that doing a lot of inner work and meditative practices does for you is, you get closer and closer to yourself. And that helps you trust your intuition a lot more. And that's when you really start living life. I mean, till then you're kind of asleep, right? So I think I had those glimpses several times at several different points during the first 30 years of my life. But it was only in the last 10, 15 years of my life that I started really paying attention to it.
And when you started paying attention to that, essentially paying attention to what your soul is telling you, right, to the feelings, sensations inside, that's when your net worth starting to grow.
Yes. I mean, I think it's incremental proof, right? You trust in small little pieces and you're like, oh, well, this really works. This, everybody says do it, this way. I'm going to quit my job and go do this. And, initially you go through struggles and you go through, tumultuous times. And then you're like, oh, wow, you learned so much. Just that learning was worth everything, And so recognizing that and being able to pay attention to that, it gives you more confidence to go do more of it. And then it's just stacking of that.
Yeah. So would you say that you have achieved the point of enlightenment or being awakened?
I think that's a big word, and I think I'm still trying to understand what that word really means. So I don't know that I would go that far, but I would definitely say I was asleep and I am awake.
Okay.
I'm definitely awake now. I'm awake to the concept of, there's a lot more to life than this material and physical world that we're in. And there's a lot more to life than just, you follow a certain formula and you get to this outcome. Right. And then, I think just having the belief, I've never ever had a problem with belief. I like to think of, what we're talking about in the way in which there's a continuum, and then on one side of the continuum there's faith, and then the other side of the continuum there's science. And some people are able to start and believe more from the faith side, and some people are very scientific just because of exposure to their background and learning. I'm definitely more on the faith side. I'm less scientific, but I had a good amount of science in me. So I think science, not in a bad way, but science generally requires you to have proof before you believe.
Mm-hmm.
Prove it to me and then I will believe. And then on the other side, believe and I will believe till you prove me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of this is being able to marry and to be able to bring the scientific community more to believe, right? And even the people who are believers, if you have elements of doubt in there, being able to get yourself more to the stage of belief is very helpful for, not just for success, I mean, I think just for your day-to-day sanity. So being able to be awake to me is just moving more towards being able to believe 100% is...
Have faith.
Yeah, have faith and more believe, right? And so moving more towards the belief continuum, the faith continuum, that's the awakening for me. That's the process that I am comfortable saying that I'm getting closer to.
That's probably why religions are so popular. All different kinds of religions to give people something to believe in. Yeah, I guess it's a basic human need to have faith in something.
Yeah, I think whatever you can use as a prescription, whatever you can use as a guidebook to be able to get there, right? is good, right? I mean, we all have different versions of it, different religions, different understandings of it, different opinions of it. But if it gives you a way, a process to expose and open up the dimension in you to get you there, why not?
Yeah. And you mentioned your wife, Ashwini, right? She's a chief architect working in the business. How do you manage the family dynamic when there is some disagreements around
Yes.
business,
Yes.
but there is millions of dollars at stake? So it would be emotionally charged and obviously a lot of at stake.
It's a very interesting relationship, and I don't know that I would recommend it to everybody. No, I would not. I think it's we've really found a way to work around it, and now we're in a place where we've crossed the hump, and it's amazing. But it took a lot of work to be able to manage and balance personal priorities, family priorities, kids, romantic priorities with, goals of staying on target, priorities, deadlines, timelines, and, being hard on those timelines with the spouse creates a lot of conflict, creates a lot of uncomfortable conversations and situations where,
Do you think that you're able to separate that, or has that affect?
I mean, it's a work in progress. It's there's no, I haven't found an easy way to do it. We've had to work through it, and I think it's in a much better place today than it was a decade ago. But it's a work in progress, and the great thing about it is it has helped open up, new dimensions of the relationship, which has helped us bring us closer, ultimately. So, looking at it from that standpoint, I think balancing it, the fact that we are involved in so much of the inner journey and inner personal work, and Ashwini is too, it helps with being able to see the bigger picture. It helps with being able to admit and acknowledge where you stand. Don't let your ego get in the way, and things of that type. Because if you're very tied to your self-identification, it becomes hard to separate it out.
Speaking of ego, I have a question. So you're managing multiple projects worth billions of dollars in multiple locations at the same time. How do you maintain where you keep your ego in check? And also, that must be very overwhelming to have so many projects going on at the same time. So how do you use, I guess, meditation or spiritual practices to maintain that sanity and also keeping your ego in check?
Yeah, for me, my practices are mandatory, because otherwise, retaining your sanity to manage, juggle multiple things. So I think the numbers and the scale, I mean, there's three different questions here. First, I'd like to address the numbers and the scale. I think, millions, billions, hundreds of millions, I think these are just numbers. And, I think we allow those to overwhelm us or to daunt us or to, or to get us anxious or scared and inject fear. And I think if you separate out the numbers from it and you just look at the situation for what it is and what needs to be done, it's generally a little bit more helpful to manage the day-to-day activities on a lot of these projects. And, I think a lot of these come with challenges and adversities, which I feel like as you're solving and you're working through, that's life, right? You're able to actually grow spiritually as you work through these things, because it's teaching you how to handle the situation. And now, without you knowing it, you're just more capable of handling much bigger situations.
So it sounds like one of the keys here is to develop emotional detachments from outcome, like where you're not attached to outcome.
Absolutely. I mean, I think tying into the ego conversations, I think generally, and this is not to boast, but I feel proud of myself that I generally have lesser of an ego from what I see generally out there. Or I did have, and that's reducing. And a key part of that is absolutely to detach from the outcome, is to detach from taking credit, in my opinion. I mean, it's not, my opinion in life is that, we happen to be here. We happen to be here. Things are happening. We are assisting. I think we are assisting for sure. And our plans are, by having this conversation, by us meeting, by us doing things, we're assisting the outcome of certain things. Well, I think taking credit that you made it all happen is grossly overrated. That's overstated.
So you believe in destiny and predetermined
Yeah,
outcomes?
I don't think I can take credit for the huge successes of our project, or take all. On the contrary, I am responsible for the project. I am fully responsible for the failures of it, and
So you're responsible for the failures, but you're not responsible for.
I'm responsible to try to make my best possible efforts to get the positive outcome. All the failures cannot be attributed to me. Neither can all the successes be attributed to me. But I'm responsible to play my part, to play my day-to-day role, to be able to take the project to the successful outcome. I'm responsible to look and navigate hard, complex situations and find possible alternate ways to handle things if we were to face a challenge. But, from a credit standpoint, I definitely, do I pat myself on the back and do I get happy? 100%. We're super happy about it. I take credit for it, but you just don't beat your chest about it.
I see. So do you believe that we are creators of our own reality and we can change that reality, or you think there is no free will and kind of everything is predetermined for us?
No, I think it's a combination. I mean, I think there's a lot of predetermined stuff, but I think you can. I mean, the actions you take, I do think, shape changes. The actions you take, whether it's physical actions or it's your internal spiritual actions, the actions you take definitely do change and shape the outcome of things. It's been my experience so far, is the way I would like to put it.
Okay, so it sounds like some major events in life are kind of predetermined, like you're supposed to go on this path on this license, but day to day, small details, you can kind of navigate and change them.
Yes. And I think you can magnify the positive outcome of a big event, and you can mitigate the negative outcome as well by taking certain actions. It's definitely possible in my experience. And the way I'd like to just do more things on that is, what is positive, what is negative, and success and bad and good is all up to perception, is all up to how each person's individual's perception of that specific reality and that situation. And what's in your control is to be able to shape how the outcome appears, how the outcome really, how the plane lands, how the outcome is, how the financial outcome and how the blow or the good part is for people by taking certain, steps.
Mm-hmm.
So I think definitely those outcomes we have an ability to shape. I'm a firm believer.
Do you have any particular one example when intuition you got have help you navigate a business decision?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many instances now. I mean, in one of the recent instances, just to quote an example, we have a large tract of land that we're working on right now, that we had been working on for the last year for a master plan community. And now, my intuition was to stay with it. And, the underwriting didn't check out. The suitability for what we specifically do wasn't really working. It then turned out to be, we stayed the course, and in the last 6 months, it's turned out to be 5x what we thought it would be, because it came up with an alternate use and a completely different adjacent business line. And that's a big evidence of trusting the unknown. It's a big evidence of trusting.
It's a data center.
It's a data center play. And so we moved from a mixed-use master plan type opportunity to now it's going to be a data center, which we all know is the biggest and the hottest and the greatest thing to be powering the next wave of AI over the next 100 years.
Yeah.
And this is a large one. And I mean, it's just, it's just completely unplanned.
And so for listeners who are listening to us right now, if they want to start integrating meditation into their daily life or business, what is one practical tool they can start doing tomorrow that you can advise or recommend?
Well, I mean, I think
to help them get started.
Well, I think you really have to be curious, right? And I think, what helped me start was really asking questions to myself. What am I doing with my life? Why am I doing certain things? Why am I adding more toxic thoughts, poisons, substances to my life that is making me go the other way? So making me go worse. And why is that happening? I was fortunate. I had a big adversity. I had a big setback and I don't wish that on anybody, but I wish that on people. If you don't have a big setback in your life, you're not going to question things deep enough. I think in our current day of, we're all so in the mind. We're so in it, right? The analytical mind. So you're unless you have something that really smacks you in the face, you can't pull back and say, "What the hell just happened? This defies all logic. I can't understand what is going on. So
Sometimes your worst day is your best.
It's your best day, and so it's your worst day is your best day.
Yeah.
Is your best day. And so it's just like, I think to be, I think it's hard to manufacture adversity, right? It's hard to create it artificially, right? So what at the same time, I think if you can start asking the questions in your day-to-day life as to what is happening, if you're seeing certain patterns that are repeating, that are not serving you, and that are going down a path of this is just not making sense, whether it's a relationship, whether it's money, it's a job, it's your kids, whatever it is. Hey, I'm doing all the right things, but things are not going the way I think it should be. The formula is not working. What am I doing wrong? I think that question alone is enough to start thinking, maybe I've got to think of a different way of doing this. Maybe I'm not doing the right things. You start asking that question. Okay, now what can I do? That's the next question. And then, you're like, okay, there's a lot of things that are out there. I personally looked at so many different ways to get started. I've tried so many different things to get started, and
you need to be curious.
You need to be curious.
You need to look.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's so interesting you mentioned adversity because, there is IQ that people measure and things like that. Well, one of the things I do when hiring employees for my business is I look at AQ, adversity quotient. You may be high achiever, right? But have you actually struggled? I want to know examples of where you experienced adversity in your life and you were able to overcome it. So I'll look for adversity quotient.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. I'm going to steal that.
All right.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
that's
beautiful. Because I want to know, because that tells me how your character is built. You might have two candidates. One have a straight A student, but it came to them easily and everything in life has been easily. They haven't really experienced adversity. We might have somebody who is a B- or C student.
Yeah.
But given where they started and what circumstances and cards were dealt to them, they have overcome great obstacles and great odds to get to where they are now.
That's fantastic.
And to me, that shows more resilience. Because in business, it's not always going to be, sunny and, pretty weather.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be challenging situations. And I want the people on my team have ability to overcome adversity. And they're not afraid of it. They can look in the direction of fire and not get phased.
That's just one of the best ways I've heard of that. It's a great way. I mean, we hear of EQ a lot, emotional quotient, and some other Qs, but adversity quotient is the first time I'm hearing of it. That's great. No, I mean, I think that's a great interview question, and seeking that talent out in people, that is really important thing to do. And a lot of people just haven't. Here's the other thing I've noticed, just in doing some work with, my personal business and employees, is people have been through adversity, but they don't recognize it.
They don't embrace it.
Or they don't embrace it. Or they read into it in a different way. I mean, you can take it. You can go down the path of drugs and alcohol. You can go down the path of, spirituality and kind of, digging deeper to understand things. So you could really, and exercise and wellness and health, and you could really take it any which way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not wrong to go down this path, because going down this path of drugs and alcohol will create other adversities for you. And somewhere something will smack you in the face where you will come back and course correct. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen at some point. Question is, when does it happen?
Yeah.
The sooner it happens to you, the luckier you are, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I think if you're able to recognize it and say, wait a minute, this actually just happened to me. If someone's watching this podcast and something really happened to me and I just probably didn't pay attention to it, and maybe there's something, that's enough, I think. That's enough to start. And then from there, you stack, right? And it might take you a little bit longer if it's a small start, but who knows? I mean,
you got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere and it might be there soon.
Yeah. Let me ask you some more couple of philosophical questions to kind of wrap this up. So what is frequency of wealth to you? What does it mean to you? And what's your understanding of it?
Man, I love this idea. I told you, I mean, I'm just in awe of you to have started this and take the step to start this channel. And, I think to me, I think money is such a driver and an equalizer in this world, across the world. Everybody, no matter how rich or how poor you are, it's the one common denominator that you can tell motivates and incentivizes almost everybody, if not everybody. And, I think the spirituality aspect of it is great, but different people have different, goals when it comes to spirituality. When it comes to business and for profit, everybody has money as a goal. But when it comes to, so being able to take, energy work and spirituality and to be able to combine it with the wealth or the money aspect, I think was a great way to draw more people into it. And then they will start to see the other benefits that come with spirituality. And so I think if you're able to give them the money benefit of getting them to get into spirituality, fantastic. I mean, that's one way to bring them in and they understand it. And of course, you're going to see massive benefits in the money realm and wealth realm. Of course, I today do not have a doubt, but you're going to see so many other benefits of it. And you're going to see, run your day-to-day life in a much more calm, composed, and peaceful manner that you'll struggle to go back.
Yeah.
So I think the frequency of wealth to me is, or the frequency of money is really money, is a piece of energy too, right? I mean, we are all seeing fiat getting phased out and digital currencies starting to come in. I mean, not necessarily phased out, but get less popular, and digital currencies get a lot more adoption. And it's a lot more believable now to talk about money as energy, right? And money as a frequency, wealth as a frequency, which is the other aspect of it. But, tying spirituality with frequency and tying energy with frequency will help people understand how to attract more of it to them. And then it opens up new dimensions for them. So that's why I like the way you've...
Yeah, people not always look at those two things together. When you think of somebody spiritual, it means a monk.
Yeah, it's almost bad to make money, right? It's almost like a bad word. Like, I mean, this guy who's spiritual should not be making money. I think that's total bullshit.
Yeah,
right? I think that
go hand in hand very nicely too.
Yeah.
It's actually only when you combine the two, I think that's when you really can start generating wealth.
Well, I think the attachment to the money aspect of it is probably not needed, right? Which we will figure out how to detach when we get further along the journey. We will learn, we will get there, right? But, it's nothing is wrong with making money. You need it. It's what makes the world go around.
Yeah. And so what is one life hack or principle that somebody can use to start generating more wealth for themselves? What's your favorite life hack? A quantum life hack to generate more abundance?
I think really my quantum life hack to generate abundance is just belief. Just belief in the unknown, belief in you pick up something, you're just daunting, you're scared of it. You're scared to make a step to quit a job. You're scared to make a step to make a big decision, to take on a big project because this is too big for me. There's all sorts of lines in this world. I mean, don't bite more than you can chew. That's one of my favorite lines to use as a, it's not necessarily true at all. There's context for it, but, people take those kinds of things and then take them out of context and they just don't take the risk. Right? So, go take that risk. Go make that step. And then everything else will open up for you. That's a spiritual step. It's being able to trust and make that step and make that one decision will start. We'll create the start. I mean, you've done it so many years ago, and you continue to do it.
Yeah,
and you see
basically just have take the first step. If I were to summarize it, just take a step in the direction of your dreams and have faith.
Yes,
it's all gonna work out.
And you're gonna figure it out.
And then surrender to the
and if you lose, it's okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine. You just pick up and go try again, commit to it, and just keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Dharma, thank you so much. Do you have any final thoughts or ideas you would like to share with the audience?
No, this is, again, I mean, I really commend you for starting this. And, Nikita, this is, for a man who's achieved so much success like you have and in the real estate world and, and found a beautiful way to navigate that. I am very confident that you will find an equally beautiful way to navigate this podcast and this channel. So I'm really fortunate to be one of the early guests. Thank you.
Thank you, Dharma. It's a pleasure to have you here. Let me shake your hand. You've been watching Frequency of Wealth podcast, and today we had a very special guest, Dharma Rajah from Texas, a very prolific and visionary developer. If you enjoyed the episode, please like and comment and subscribe below, and we will see you at the next episode.